Joseph, I keep hearing about fundamental terms, clauses in contracts. But I'm still not exactly sure what they mean. Could you explain it to me?
Absolutely, Linda. Fundamental terms are the key obligations that form the foundation of a contract. If a fundamental term is breached, the affected party usually has the right to terminate the contract immediately. This is different from breaching a minor term, where you might only be entitled to compensation, but not termination.
So, they're basically the critical parts of the deal?
Exactly. In legal terms, fundamental terms are often called conditions. If a condition is breached, it's serious enough to allow the innocent party to walk away from the contract. On the other hand, a warranty is a lesser promise. Breaching a warranty usually just allows for damages, but not termination. There's also a middle ground, what we call intermediate, or innominate, terms, where the remedy depends on how serious the breach is.
I see. Can you give me a real-world example?
Sure. Imagine a company contracts with a supplier to deliver key materials by a certain deadline. If those materials aren't delivered on time, and the whole project depends on them, that's a breach of a fundamental term. The buyer could terminate the contract and seek another supplier. But if the supplier just missed a minor reporting deadline, that wouldn't usually justify termination, only damages.
That makes sense. How do you identify which terms are fundamental?
Good question. Sometimes, it's obvious from the nature of the contract. Other times, parties spell it out clearly to avoid doubt. A strong contract will usually include language like this. The parties hereby agree that the following obligations are fundamental to this agreement. A breach of any such obligation shall constitute a material breach. The non-breaching party shall be entitled, in addition to any other remedies available at law or in equity, to terminate this agreement immediately. The non-breaching party may also pursue all available remedies, including but not limited to damages. These fundamental obligations include a. Delivery of the goods strictly in accordance with the schedule set forth in Schedule A. b. Remittance of the purchase price within the timeframe specified in Section X. c. Compliance with all applicable regulatory standards as detailed in Section Y. Breaking it down like this makes it crystal clear which obligations are critical, and what happens if they aren't met.
That's a very clear example. Are there best practices for drafting these clauses?
Definitely. Always be explicit. Label key obligations as fundamental or conditions wherever possible. And make sure the remedies for breach are properly aligned in the termination and damages sections of the contract. Clear cross-references help everyone know exactly where they stand.
What happens if a contract doesn't define fundamental terms clearly?
Then it's up to interpretation. Courts will look at the contract wording, the nature of the obligation, the parties' intentions, and even industry practices. But ambiguity invites disputes. That's why in contract drafting, we often say, clarity is currency.
Are there any risks if you label too many terms as fundamental?
Yes. It can backfire. If everything is treated as critical, the contract becomes rigid and harder to perform. It can also scare off potential partners. Ideally, you should reserve fundamental status for the truly essential obligations, the ones that, if breached, would defeat the purpose of the entire agreement.
Got it. This really helped me understand the idea. Thanks, Joseph.
My pleasure, Linda. Mastering how to handle fundamental terms gives you a huge advantage. Whether you're negotiating, drafting, or managing contracts, it's one of the best ways to protect your interests and avoid costly surprises later.